Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where you learn how to extract your business and personal deep wealth. I'm your host, Jeffrey Feldberg. This podcast is brought to you by Deep Wealth and the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience. When it comes to your business deep wealth, your exit or liquidity event is the most important financial decision of your life. But unfortunately, up to 90% of liquidity events fail. Think about all that time and your hard-earned money wasted. Of the quote-unquote successful liquidity events, most business owners leave 50% to over 100% of the deal value in the buyer's pocket and don't even know it. I should know. I said no to a seven-figure offer and yes to mastering the art and the science of a liquidity event. 2 years later, I said yes to a different buyer with a 9-figure deal. Are you thinking about an exit or liquidity event? Don't become a statistic and make the fatal mistake of believing the skills that built your business are the same ones to sell it. After all, how can you master something you've never done before? Let the 90-Day Deep Wealth Experience and the 9-step roadmap of preparation help you capture the best deal instead of any deal. At the end of this episode, take a moment and hear from business owners like you who went through the Deep Wealth Experience. For over 35 years, Tim Redmond has been growing highly successful businesses, including his work at PriceWaterhouseCoopers, growing a software company from 200 to 400 employees, and then selling it to Intuit and helping thousands of business owners gain time and financial freedom. Tim is also an author and speaker throughout the world whose leadership maxims have been featured in John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. He currently leads one of the most successful business growth coaching firms in the world, whose team has led over 1,500 business owners through their unique and powerful processes to improve all areas of their business to more than double revenues, triple profits, and realign their businesses to release the owners to boldly live their purpose, love their families, and better serve their communities. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast, where we help you extract both your business and personal deep wealth. But for today, we're really going to focus on your business deep wealth, pun intended, because for most business owners, you've got the golden handcuffs. Your wealth is locked up in the business. And truth be told, you probably haven't even begun to unlock the majority of it. How do you do that? How do you grow your business? Forget a liquidity event. Forget all of that stuff. How do you just create a thriving business? What a loaded question, but it's a real question. And that's what we're going to be talking about today with our guest, Tim. And you heard a bit about him in the official intro. But Tim, welcome. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. A pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, really good. I'm looking forward to diving in. I think it's going to be, if not entertaining, hopefully very helpful to our folks that gather around to watch this. So,
well, from your lips to God's ears, we're going to do that. And There's always a story behind the story, Tim. So what's your story? What got you to where you are today?
I'll do this very brief, but I'm one of 11 kids. So my parents, they love sex or they love kids or they love both. And I've learned all kinds of negotiations. We're jumping in and helping the family even, at a young age. And that's just what I grew up doing. But I started out, studied accounting, went to work for PriceWaterhouseCoopers. But all this time I just loved the idea of running and growing businesses. And so I hooked up with this guy and he was new and starting this software company. We grew a software company and as a CPA and he was a CPA, we wrote a bunch of programs for CPAs and we grew it up about 15 years. We became the 4th largest distributor of a CPA software. We had Intuit buy us, the Quicken QuickBooks people on the professional side. And I went to work for them to help transition. We had 22,000 clients at that point. And after that, I started a nonprofit, traveled around. And here's what's interesting. I would travel around talking about leadership, effective leadership, first go inward, before go outward, leaders define reality, a lot of great concepts, and talk about growth in business. And I would have people come up to me afterwards, entrepreneurs would come up, business owners, and say, hey, do you offer coaching? I go, sure. What's your question? And sometimes I'd sit down there for an hour helping them, not realizing that there were people with these $1 million coaching businesses And so I shifted into a focus on coaching rather than traveling around speaking. And so we've coached through probably a couple thousand businesses, a lot of contractors, home builders, plumbers, electricians, those contractor types. Also specialty docs, pain management, chiropractors, urgent care centers. So those are the two main areas that we focused on. But right now we maintain about 150, 160 clients that we coach on a weekly basis. I've got a team of 7 coaches and we're growing. Thank goodness we're growing on that. And just by word of mouth is just people's results that they're getting. So that's where I am now. And I love what I do. I wake up early because I love to do what I do.
That's phenomenal. And I suspect you are probably not looking forward to Friday, unlike everyone else, because it's, my goodness, I got to wait 2 more days till Monday so I can get back in the saddle and make the difference.
Yeah. As I get older in age, I have promised my wife, I said, listen, I'm 61. Last year, I wrote a 25-year and working. There's no retirement there, but I'm going to take more time away from the office. And I've agreed to chase her around real fancy resorts. And so that's our negotiation right now. And I chase her until she catches me. And so it's a great, everybody wins with this deal.
Well, that's terrific. And you're really walking the talk and leading the way. The business is running without you while you're doing that. And what better way to do it? And before we kick off things, I have to tell you, and for our listeners, we'll have this in the show notes. You can click on a link to get to Tim's book and check out the title, Power to Create, the Ultimate Guide to Eliminate Scarcity and Produce Massive Results for Yourself and Others. And you can't see Tim holding up the book very proudly. We can see on the call, but that really says it all. So why don't we start at the opposite side of things, because offline, you and I were talking and I shared when I first got into business, my best friend was failure, which was hard. But I learned that failure, when you can understand it and work with it, has many gifts and it often teaches you more than success. And so generally speaking, and I know every business is different and in its own right has its own story to tell. That said though, Tim, generally speaking, maybe Pareto's law here, 80% of the problems most businesses face is probably coming from 20%, give or take, of specific issues or things that they're doing or not doing.
Right.
So why don't we start with that? When a business owner approaches you, hey, Tim, help me take my business to the next level, and you and your team now take a look at that. Where are business owners going wrong? Why don't we start with that?
So with our clients, now we're going after more Main Street companies. They're $5 million or less. We do have a number of companies much more than 5 million, a couple of over 100 million. But most of our mainstay is our Main Street businesses under $5 million. And so we find that they come to us and says, hey, help me get more quality leads. I want to get more sales and get more profits. And I just want to grow my business, but I don't know how to get these leads. The big mistake that they make is they want leads, but they haven't defined their purple cow. Remember Seth Godin's book 20 years ago, Purple Cow? It still works today. And the idea for these great listeners is his kids were in the back and they were driving out of Paris on vacation. And they would get excited when they pass a farm. They look at the black and the brown and the white cows. And they go, look at the cows, look at the cows. And then after about 4 or 5 of these farms, Seth would say, hey, we're passing another farm. Here's some more cows. We've already seen them. And Seth thought about it and said, listen, if they were a bright, shiny purple cow, they'd still be talking about it 20 years later. And so a lot of business people don't take time to find the purple cow in their business. How are they unique? Why should these customers, these prospects choose them and not all the other alternatives? Why are they the better alternative? Why are they the best choice? And you've got to be able to say that in very simple terms. And it's even good, Jeffrey, to use some humor with it. We create this one sheet where it has here's what we do and here's what the typical person does. And their list is all great. And the typical person is loser. And they usually laugh at that. But I remember one plumber coming in, driving in. He's a local plumber here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he had a sign in the back on the side of his truck that says, we wear belts. And I go, why is we wear belts? Why? He goes, plumbers are famous for showing off their butt cracks when they work. And he said, we just want to work against that. And so we actually built part of his purple cow around this no butt crack guarantee. So if you see our butt crack during our time at your house or your office working, labor is free. Honest to goodness, Jeffrey, people would call up laughing, saying, "You're the no butt crack plumber." And boom, I want you to come. So, there's just the purple cow is one. There is not offering a no-brainer offer. A no-brainer offer is like, they look at it and it's a real simple to take the next step. I remember talking to one guy, he called me. He said, "Hey, I've got this business. I'm trying to launch it. It's cold calling." And I said, "Well, tell me about the workflow. What's the first meeting?" "Well, the first meeting is 2 hours." I said, "You've got a date on the first date. You're asking them to marry you?" He goes, "Huh?" I said, "A 2 hour. Well, who's got time for that? Respect their time and grow their trust. Start with maybe a first short call for a 10-minute call, then the assessment, and having those no-brainer offers, hey, $1 for the first visit or whatever it is to get their attention. A lot of folks make it difficult to take the first step. And so I can go literally on and on for 50 examples of different mistakes that business owners make. So we can dive into this further if you want, or wherever you want to go with this, Jeffrey.
Well, what's interesting in your book, the first section, which you call Identify, which is actually very similar to the 9-step roadmap here at Deep Wealth. We call that the big picture. And in the book, you're talking about what's the mess, and then cleaning up, and an interview with the creator, and then the lies of scarcity. So why don't we talk momentarily about the lies of scarcity, because so much of business, and this frustrates all those logical people out there who are spreadsheets and Excel and Google Sheets and everything else, that life doesn't happen in business unless it's in a complicated formula in a spreadsheet. But oftentimes the success is on the art side of business, not the science side. And so talk to us about the mindset. So what are the lies of scarcity for our listeners?
Okay, so there's 3 main lies that I talk about. The first lie is there's not enough. And when you think about there's not enough, you're going to be striving. Your brain's going to be solving towards there's not enough. And it wants to make sure that becomes true in your life. And it shuts down a lot of the creative capacities, which leads to the second lie that not only is there not enough, but I must not be enough. And so you begin to sit down when you should be standing up. You're reacting against instead of creating towards. You're trying to survive rather than thrive. And these are nice little catchy sayings, but it's really true. It's the emotional state that you have as you approach your business. Is it bigger than you? Is it overwhelming to you? Is it not fair? Or are you more than enough? And do you have more than enough? And are you going to figure out the way? And are you capable instead of incapable? So that really has a lot of play on it, and leads to the third lie. And we think, I can't enjoy where I am now because I don't have enough and I'm not enough. And so we come into this third lie that says more is always better. That goes really deep, and I can spend some time on that. But the more is always better. It gets you always looking, not paying attention to now, the problem for you to solve now, the solution for you to bring into the earth now, to get your full attention now. And so you find that you're always looking somewhere else, and that lack of focus and the lack of intensity of it really hurts a business. I'm helping my son. He's 26 years old, and I've got 3 sons and a daughter. My youngest son, he played football in college. He's built like a Greek statue. I mean, it's just, and he started this online fitness program. And the first couple of months, it just stared at him. He stared at it, stared at him, and nothing was happening. And I go, listen, your energy, your business is begging you to pour your energy into it. It's lacking energy. It cannot generate energy on its own. You're not going to build it and come. You got to work your ass off to get people to come and get going here. So we had this goal, and this third month, it says, okay, let's go for 20. Dad, there's no way I can get 20. I said, let's set your mind to it and let's see how we can do it. We broke it down and what actually creates these calls and this and that. And so we mathematically mapped it out and followed that plan, and he closed 21 people.
Look at that. That's amazing.
And so I'm just telling you that there is massive growth in your company. And a lot of times, and people will say this almost not connected, they say the biggest obstacle in my business is the person I'm looking at in the mirror. That's true, but how? What? How are you stopping that? Don't just be self-degrading. Get your business in motion. People need your product or service. Don't be selfish. Don't be lazy. We need all of you to show up. So stand up instead of sitting down. Go forward instead of getting blown away back. It is tough. And you do it while you're crying and when you're afraid. That's okay. That's how business goes. I'm sorry. I sound like I'm preaching now. I don't mean to be, but I'm telling you, Jeffrey, I'm reminded he's now a friend. His name is Michael, and he builds sheds in Arkansas. Okay. And he actually had a pretty good business. He was doing $80,000, $100,000 a month, but he wasn't making any profit. He was like $5,000 hardly paid for his labor. And so he's in his late 66 and he's no retirement and just working 60, 70 hours a week in the business. And after a few months of working with him, we began to free him up. And really 2 years, we built him to about 500,000, between 5 and 600,000. He went from a 0 to 5% net income to 15 to 20%. He's making $50, $75, $100,000 a year. He's now spending 3 weeks a month chasing his wife around their condo in Florida, 1 week a month to run the business. And so your business can be a vehicle to take you to where you want to go. You got to pour into it though.
Really like how you look at that whole mindset, because isn't it the truth? I like to say our inner thoughts create our outer world. And so if you have that imposter syndrome, I'm not good enough, and why me, and who am I to be doing this? You've lost before you even begun. And so how you tackle that right up front is terrific. For our listeners, something to think about. Tim, you and I were both people of faith and spirituality. And I know in your book, you talk about God. And for some people, that may turn them off. And if you happen to find yourself in that category, maybe instead of the term God, think of maybe spirituality or the universe or whatever is going to really turn your crank on that side of things. And preface that because I wanted to circle back to something that you said in your book, and it's actually chapter 9. And you say, God loves Monday morning. And most people, when they think of Monday morning, they dread it. In fact, the statistics are out there, and don't hold me to this, but I want to say that the most number of heart attacks and deaths are on Monday morning, and they attribute that to people hating their work, not wanting to go in, and that's their ultimate exit. And so, what's going on with God loves Monday morning?
Okay, for Jewish people or people that worship on Saturday, or it may be Sunday, that's a formal worship day. And we think that's the day that God really gets praised and that's God's favorite day. And my theology, and no matter where you are, and if you understand the DNA molecule, that alone would lead you towards some intelligent design. So however you define that intelligent design, I just happen to think it's personal and not impersonal, but God loves to create. As a matter of fact, that's the first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, God did the thing he loved to do most. And he set a pattern, because it says in the Bible, he created us in his own image, and we're created to create. And so when you show up at work, it's a creative process. Well, yeah, but all I do is make widgets and move in an assembly. It doesn't matter. All I do is sweep the floor. Well, do it like Martin Luther King Jr. said, is just, do it as if you're sweeping the courts of heaven, and do it with all your heart, because it's a creative process, and God loves to join us in that creative process. He gets more excited about the creative process working in us and through us. And it's a very personal thing. Work to me is a very spiritual thing. I have spoken to a group of over 20,000 people in Bogota and throughout the world. And I feel the presence of God as much on me talking to a plumber. I talked to one plumber that he wrote me a text not too long ago. He said, "This is the first vacation I've ever been on when my business is making money when I'm on vacation." Because when I would go on vacation, the business would go on vacation. But he was making about $3,000 a month, and now he's making $35,000 to $40,000 a month in profit, besides paying himself a good salary. And so these kind of stories is just, I love what I'm doing. I feel like this is I'm helping to liberate people in their business so that their business works for them instead of them just having a
Absolutely.
dreaded job that leads nowhere.
As you talk about that, Tim, what's going through my mind, I'm
Yeah,
thinking of a
please.
couple of things actually. Number one, always go the extra mile, regardless of what you do. It's not a to-do checklist that you check it off. It's just as an entrepreneur, as a business founder, hey, we make the world go round. And part of that is always going the extra mile. But, and this is the key thing, not expecting anything in return. And then the second point to what you're saying, which again, my wheels were turning as you were talking, is the passion. And when we're passionate about solving a very painful problem, and that passion oozes through, we go the extra mile, we have the extra oomph to get things going and get things out there. And so why don't we do a 180 now? Because you're talking about where some businesses tend to fall offside. So let's do a quick thought experiment, and it could be any number of your clients here. They've been working with you for a while. You've put into place your strategies, your coaching, your system, and now they're firing on all cylinders. Things are working exactly as they should be. What's the difference? Are there 3 to 5 things that perhaps they're now doing that they weren't doing, and what would those be?
Okay, to narrow them down to 3 to 5 is, I wish it was more simpler than that, but let me just go not in any particular order of importance. But I think about another plumber he and his brother-in-law were working about 80 to 90 hours a week and hardly any profits and just working themselves to a frenzy. And so we got a hold of them and we built the foundation of their business on what we call reputation marketing. That is the capital that they created with the customers they had that loved their work and built on the foundation. And we did that through the Google My Business and optimizing that and helping them get over 1,000 Google reviews, legitimate customers that came in. And we have a very effective process on that. And they have built that business from just based on that reputation and then just a number of other things we did. We cut their marketing budget in half through this program. And they grew to, my last conversation with him was a couple of days ago, and they're at $900,000 a month. They've literally grown 10x. He's got the one partner, I didn't talk to both of them, but he's got well over $1 million. He's bought some property in a certain country that he wanted to vacation in. And he's just thoroughly enjoying life. And he's working about 40 hours a week. And sometimes he works less than that. So that's one thing. Another thing here is we had a client that was barely able to run 3 jobs, and they were a construction company. And we taught them about this power planning process. That's beginning of the day. We have them start out with their to-do list and their calendar, and they go through all the emails, they go through all the text messages, they go through like these questions that we would design questions uniquely to their business so they can touch every aspect of each stage of their pipeline, open contracts, existing contracts, staff that need to be addressed. And he thought through it all and he put it on the to-do list and the calendar. The calendar is the most important thing. And he increased within a matter of months of going from managing 3 jobs to managing 10 jobs easier and more succinctly through that planning process. We have another construction company in Dallas that he is a real strong leader and he wanted to control everything. And I said, there's this, I call it Matthew 25 management system. It's from a passage the Bible, but it's where a master went away and gave these servants some talents or some money to multiply it. And when he came back, he had them come in and met with them, and they gave account of what they did. I said, who ran the meeting, the master or the servant? He goes, the servant. So change it to that where they own what they're doing. They get clear expectations. And then we're going to compare what did they actually do. And they give a report. And he was behind in remodeling these apartments, Jeffrey. He was behind by 3 months, which is just killing their profits on this deal. Within 2 months of doing this, He righted the ship. He released the staff to fix their own problems. And he finished the project 2 months ahead of schedule.
Wow, powerful. And so when you look at that, and we've talked about the end game here, what's happening when you're involved, when they're putting your system in place, what's changed with the business owners? So if we could take a snapshot in time, and Tim, we took a snapshot of the mindset and inner talk and whatever else is going on with the business owner. And then we fast forward to any one of the stories that you shared, the success stories, what's gone on, what's changed for the business owners? What has happened to their inner game?
So they first of all look at their business from the mindset of you're a tool and you're a servant that works for me, instead of reporting and just being victimized by the business. So they get an owner's mindset, and owners have to own stuff, good and bad. That mindset of ownership is really key. A lot of people own a business, but they don't have the mindset of ownership.
Okay.
Of just, they own it, and if it's to be, it's up to me. But in doing that, another aspect that I see that really hinders a lot of business owners is they will try to over control, and what they can't control, they shut down. And there's a continuum with everything. And I think there's an antithesis of control. The antithesis of control is growth. So we have to learn to give up control in order to get the growth. It doesn't mean to go crazy, but you have planned trainings and you're giving people responsibility, and you do the 3-step process of training anybody. First, you show them. Second, you do it together. And 3, they show you. And you take time for that process for them to really get it down. But then they begin to own the business. And now you can begin to pull back and look at, it's just like what I'm doing right now. Another one of my sons runs this business. He owns part of the business. He gets paid really well. And I'm busy looking at buying businesses. It's funny that you're into helping to sell businesses. I went through your book. I haven't read it word for word, but I went through, and it's a lot of very well written here, but a lot of really powerful concepts in it. And the idea is just being able to let go and let them make mistakes and let them correct it. And you have that system where they come in on a regular basis. For my son and I, we meet twice a week. For businesses that I buy and own, the structure is that after I get them set up here, that either myself or one of my coaches will meet with the head guy 1 hour a week, and that's it. Boom, that's it. And they stay on track with it, and they give account to things. And that's a really important to learn to let go so that people can begin to grow your business outside of your direct control.
When you talk about letting go, again, we say here, Deep Wealth, the same thing, just in different ways. And it's actually one of our X factors that insanely increases the value of a business. This is step number 2 of our 9-step roadmap. And we ask a simple question. And Tim, if you ever want to see business owners squirmish and just wiggle around and not give you a direct answer, does the business run without you? That's the question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for most business owners, the answer is no. Even with a business that has a management team, more times than not, the business owner just holds that management team, and they can't make a decision without the blessing of the business owner. And so with what you're talking about of, hey, give up that control, bring in people better than you, smarter than you to run the business so you can go back to doing what you do best, finding the next painful problem, creating a market disruption, taking the business to the next level. You're putting it out of business so you can go back into a bigger business. So absolutely resonate with what you're saying. And, for our listeners, quick check-in with you, because Tim's been talking about different businesses, and some are more in the plumbing or other kinds of areas. And you may be thinking, that's all fine and good, Tim, but hey, I'm a corporate person. I'm in the corporate world. And I want to remind everyone that Tim came from the corporate world. He had a software company, high tech, grew it from 2 people to 400 people using the exact same principles. And that's what I love about business. And we find the same thing in the Deep Wealth experience. We have manufacturing companies, we have high-tech companies, and they do different things, but best practices are best practices. So for our listeners out there, really take to heart what Tim is sharing in terms of the strategies. It really applies for regardless of what industry you're in. It's going to apply to what you're doing. It's just a matter of knowledge is only power if you know what to do with that knowledge. And Tim is sharing with us both the knowledge and what to do with that. Tim, you've talked about the change in mindset that business owners will go through once they've gone through your system and they become acclimated with that. And one of the things that I imagine comes out of that, and you talk about this in chapter 7 of the book, purpose changes everything. And it sounds so simple on paper, but as I like to say, let's not confuse simple with simplicity. So talk to us about that. So what's going on with purpose changes everything? Why that, and how has that made a difference?
Yeah, purpose is really the why. Why do I have a plan till I'm 85? Why do I plan on writing another 25-year plan when I'm 84? There's a concept I talk about earlier in the book. It's called first be fruitful, then multiply. And so if we're not creative and we're not being fruitful here, there's something in us that dies. And so to have a purpose is to have a why. What drives you? I want to take good care of my family. Great. Awesome. Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. I want to leave a legacy for my kids. Good, great. Hopefully it's as much education as it is money. As if they don't understand the money thing, it's just given to them, they're not going to value it as much. Whatever your why is. For me, I have actually done formal ministry, and I've done this kind of work. I've done accounting work. I've done auditing work. I've done consulting work. And all of it, I've made it serve my purpose. This is equipping me so I can come up with better solutions for the people that I want to serve. I've got a guy that I started coaching with him, and he was at $10 million. He's now at about $120 million. And we just went on a river cruise a couple months ago with our wives, and actually it was pretty good. Anyway, but I've been challenging him for the last couple of years to add a 0 to his operations. But through a very different way. And so he's really now starting to wrap his brain around that. And he sees that his purpose behind that is he doesn't need any more money. Right now, he's making over $10 million a year in profit. And so he's no more free government cheese, no more food stamps. He's off of all that. My warped sense of CPA humor. But anyway, so he's got a purpose beyond just making money for himself and his kids and his family and doing great trips with awesome people. And so he really has a purpose now of funding certain types of operations that's going to help people in a certain way. And it requires a lot of money. And so now he's got like a drive behind to say, boom, I can do this now. And he set his mind to it. So if you don't have a purpose to work toward, it's kind of like, if you don't have a clear goal to go for and the why behind it, you're going to allow distractions and disappointments and obstacles to shut you down or to slow you down or to stifle your kind of energy you need to pour in your business. So that's what we're talking about here, is a purpose that drives the why of what you do. Is really, it drives the what you do and how you get it done.
And Tim, I'm going to throw something your way, and I'm a big believer that the only silly question is the one that never gets asked. So at the risk of asking a silly question, but not at the risk of not asking it, for many business owners, they're doing what they're doing, they're on autopilot, and maybe they've just forgotten over the years the why behind the business. So if I find myself in that situation today, what strategy or advice could you give me of how do I find my purpose? What maybe questions should I be asking? What should I be doing to get my North Star back, to get me back on point?
Yeah, I would pull back several steps and not think about your work. Just think about when you're watching the news or you read a story, what upsets you? What really POs you on different topics? That is an indication of that your assignment or your purpose may be attached to that. What gives you tremendous joy? When you do things, and usually in the service of others or in the giving of others or the creating of something, what gives you more joy? Pay attention to that. Like I think about my son, who's really knows about the fitness and how your body works. And he's got great testimonies of people losing weight and getting in shape. But he loves the transaction. He loves the deal that he gets to do. That's kind of his purpose. And so I want to help him set up. I mean, he's going to do it himself, but I'm encouraging him to set up a business where he does just what he loves to do so much. So pulling back and finding out what you love to do, what turns you on, what brings you joy. And if you're not sure about that, I would encourage you to get a coach that specializes in helping, or a specialist that specializes in helping you come alive on the inside. And we're created for connection. I mean, I've got 4 coaching organizations right now working on our business now. And we're a coaching organization. Like, we know the answers. People are paying us for the answers. But yeah, I'm still wanting expert advice on certain things to grow. That's just what I do.
Some terrific insights there, Tim. And again, from a business owner side of things, I'm hearing what you're saying and the wheels are starting to turn. And really one simple takeaway from what you said alone, and if a listener walks away with nothing more than that, perhaps that was worth the price of admission, because really what it sounds like, it goes back to, does a business run without you? And for listeners, why not do an inventory? Look at what you're doing over the course of a day, even write it down. Do that for a week. And then why not take your activities and put them into one of 2 columns? Love it, hate it. Keep it simple. And all the stuff that's in the hate it column, outsource it to other people who can do it. And Tim, back to your point and going back to here's how you find your purpose. And as a business owner, we do have this luxury. Only focus on what we love to do, what has us feeling energized, what keeps us smiling, what gives us that purpose, what gives us that, oh my goodness, I don't like that it's Friday because I got to wait till Monday now to get back in the saddle and do what I love to do. Thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely right on, and doing what you love to do and keeping focused on that and just pulling back. And I am looking to buy businesses from owners that are bored and withdrawn and have checked out, because I can get a business cheaper that way. And you're helping the seller side to say, don't sell it here. I went from 7 digits to 9 digits. I skipped a digit, but I'm looking for that. So if you feel bored and you're disengaged and that's a horrible place to be in. And so get somebody alongside you, a counselor, a coach, or somebody just to help you ask questions within yourself. You know, the quality of the answers that you're giving and the quality of the reality you live in are tied back to the quality of the questions you're asking yourself. Absolutely. Why am I not excited? There's a better way to ask that. It says, man, what would really excite me? And why does this have to happen to me? That's a horrible question. What awesome thing am I learning from this situation? Don't be like one of those business owners that I'm looking to buy from. They're checked out and they're bored, and they got their hand off the helm of their business because they're checked out. And I'm looking for those kind of businesses to buy.
Well, Tim, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. How about we do this? Instead of those businesses selling below market value, how about you and I team up and we'll work with that business owner, and they'll go through the 90-day deep wealth experience. They'll go with your coaching, and they'll come out of it reinvigorated. A quick story as I'm talking about this. Had a business owner who was like, Jeffrey, I think I'm at the end of my ropes here. I'm not in love with the business anymore. I just want to go out. But tell you what, I'm going to give it one last kick at the can. Let me see what you can do. Went through the deep wealth experience, heard a short while later, wow, I'm in love with my business again. I have not had so much fun. I can't remember the last time I had so much fun. Profits are up. Growth is like gangbusters. And you know what, Jeffrey? I don't really want to sell the business now. I can just see myself doing this and going on for many years. And as we like to say, deep wealth, keep a thriving and profitable business forever, or sell it tomorrow, but at least you have a choice, and both choices are absolutely fantastic.
That's excellent. What a way to conclude this conversation. That was really good. I love it.
And before we go into our wrap-up question, I have another question for you, because I know you have a very special package that you've put together for the listeners out there that it's worth quite a bit of money that they're not going to have to pay for. So what's the special package that you have?
We have for folks that are actual business owners and you express some kind of love for Jeffrey Feldberg and his podcast. We offer, when we meet with people, we offer what we call a growth plan. And it's really an experience where we look at the business, we do a SWOT analysis, what's good and bad about the business, the opportunities they have. where they are currently in revenue. We actually do a business model where we create a new business model based on capacity. And then we find out what their 3-year goal is. And then we recalibrate that with this new capacity. And then during the growth plan, we actually give them 8 to 10 concrete steps based on what we talked about up to that point, where if they can implement it themselves, or we're a do-it-for-you coaching company, so we do a lot of things for you, implement it. But this thing will be the surest pathway to get to that 3-year goal, wherever you have that. And so companies typically will make, if they're already in operation, they'll typically add at least $100,000 of profits if they'll follow that plan. So that's why we normally charge $2,500 for it. If they have an email to me, tim@redmondgrowth.com, or go to our website and have something about Jeffrey Feldberg, or leave a 5-star review for his podcast, then we'll waive that $2,500 fee and they can get the growth plan at no cost.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. And again, for listeners, we're going to have all of this in the show notes. It'll be a point and click for you. But Tim, why don't we do this? You and I can just talk till the cows come home, as the saying goes. But we are bumping up against some time. So I'd like to walk you through a thought experiment, and I get the privilege to ask every guest on the podcast.
Please.
Here's the question for you. Think about the movie Back to the Future. And in the movie, you have that magical DeLorean car that can take you to any point in time. So Tim, here's where the fun begins. It's tomorrow morning, you look outside your window, and there it is. The DeLorean car is not only there, but the door is open and it's waiting for you to hop on it. So you go in and you can now go to any point in your life. Tim, as a young child, a teenager, an adult, whatever point in time it would be. Tim, what are you telling your younger self in terms of, hey, Tim, here's some life wisdom or some lessons, or do this, but don't do that?
Yeah.
What does that sound like?
Oh, gosh, this is good. I've been through a lot of real hard times and almost died as a kid, as a baby. And
oh, my goodness, that sounds like a story in and of itself.
Yeah, I had to learn to read and write all over again. A brother that died. I would say that, hey, I'm back from the future and you are more capable than you're giving yourself credit. Take bigger risks, leap a little bit further, because you will have leaped and you will have failed, but you got up every time and you got up stronger. And so let's accelerate that education. Yeah, you'll meet me in the future even bigger than what I am now.
Wow. I love that. Take big risks and just really put yourself out there. And we don't hear that today. We need more of that. So some terrific advice for our listeners. And Tim, I know you were kind enough to share your email a little bit earlier. Is that the best place if people want to reach you online?
Yeah. If you go through the website, my staff will get it. If you want to interact with me, if you have any questions for me, my email is tim@redmondgrowth.com. And it'll be in the show notes, like you said. But yeah, just email me directly, or you can go through our website and my staff will take care of this whole growth process. It's phenomenal.
Terrific. Tim, it's an official wrap for this episode. And as we do that, a heartfelt thank you for taking part of your day and spending it with us on the Deep Wealth Podcast. And as always, please stay healthy and safe.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
The Deep Wealth experience was definitely a game changer for me.
This course is one of the best investments you will ever make, because you will get an ROI of 100 times that. Anybody who doesn't go through it will lose millions.
If you don't have time for this program, you'll never have time for a successful liquidity.
I mean, it was the best value of any business course I've ever taken. The money was very well spent.
Compared to when we first began, today I feel better prepared, but in some respects, maybe less prepared, not because of the course, but because the course brought to light so many things that I thought we were on top of that we need to fix.
I 100% believe there's never a great time for a business owner to allocate extra hours into his or her week or day. So it's an investment that will yield results today. I thought I will reap the benefit of this program in 3 to 5 years down the road. But as soon as I stepped forward into the program, my mind changed immediately.
There was so much value in the experience that the time I invested paid back so much for the energy that was expended.
The Deep Wealth experience compared to other programs is the top. What we learned is very practical. Sometimes you learn stuff that is great to learn, but you never use it. The stuff we learned from Deep Wealth experience, I believe is going to benefit us both.
I've done an executive MBA. I've worked for billion-dollar companies before. I've worked for smaller companies before I started my business. I've been running my business successfully now for getting close to a decade. We're on a growth trajectory. Reflecting back on the Deep Wealth, I knew less than 10% what I know now. Maybe close to 1% even.
Hands down, the best program in which I've ever participated. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've been in other mastermind groups, gone to many seminars, workshops, conferences, retreats, read books. This was so different. I haven't had an experience that's anything close to this in all the years that we've been at this. It's 5-star, A+.
I would highly recommend it to any super busy business owner out there. And Deep Wealth is an accurate name for it. This program leads to deeper wealth and happier wealth, not just deeper wealth. I don't think there's a dollar value that could be associated with such an experience and knowledge that could be applied today and forever.
Are you leaving millions on the table? Please visit www.deepwealth.com/success to learn more. If you're not on my email list, you'll want to be. Sign up at www.deepwealth.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, if it added value, if you walked away with some new insights and strategies, please leave a review on your favorite podcast channel. Reviews help us reach new listeners, grow the show, and continue to create content that you'll enjoy. And as we wrap up this episode, as always, please stay healthy and safe.